My name is Pat Gage. I'm the host of the Commercial Real Estate Investing Mastermind. We meet bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, as we are now. And for more information on future guests and stuff, you can go to opportunitycreator.com. And there's a list of the different guests we're going to have on. Grant is one of them tonight. He's got a great story. A fellow Michigander here, lives in Michigan. We're from Michigan here. I run a real estate investment company called the Block G Group here in Michigan, and basically we look for properties from 32 units to 140 units in Class B and C areas in Michigan, as well as a couple other states. We use the syndication model, meaning that we use money from other people to fund the deal and move the deal forward. Now, tonight you're going to hear a different model from Grant. That's kind of why I wanted him on, among other things. There's different ways to skin a cat, right? There's a syndication now is, everybody's, heard that, and there's a lot of different ways to do different things. So that's why I want to bring on people that are doing stuff differently, and welcome to the people who just joined us as well. We're going to basically have Grant talk to us for a few here, kind of hold your questions towards the end, and I'll give a chance to have an open mic in the chat. You can raise your hand, and we can civilly do it that way. After he's done, that way we can have enough time, and there will be plenty of time to answer questions. I think he's only got 30 or 40 page PowerPoint to go through, so we should be okay. No, he doesn't. I don't think he has that many. But we'll have enough time to do that. But what I would like to also, as well as in the chat box, let me share my screen. Put in your information in the chat, and how you do is that click on chat and put in your personal information on how, because what this mastermind is sharing ideas, sharing partnerships, sharing deals. Please put your information in there. I'll put in mine right now to show you how you can do it. Put your contact information in there, and let me share mine right here and right now with you guys. Mine's a little bit long, but basically that's what you can do. Is what we're going to do is we're recording this. So once we get this recorded, rendered tonight, I'll send out the chat log as well with the link to the recording, so you'll have all the information there. So, and I'll also share with you towards the end of the call how you can capture the chat log before you go home. Okay, so you don't have to be busily penciling, writing stuff out, and trying to figure out all the scrolling names going by you. I've done that quite a few times, and I had to figure out how to do it. So, but go ahead and put your information in there, what you're looking for, what you can provide to other people. If is it deals, is it due diligence, is it underwriting? And again, that's what the reason for this mastermind is, to get together with people who are looking at deals, have money but don't have the deals, have the time, don't have the money, vice versa. Okay, so that's the mission of this meetup here. This doorbell is driving me crazy. But anyway, get a pen and paper out and get your questions out for the guest tonight. His name is Grant Warrington, and he's a full-time real estate investor. He is here. He lives here in Michigan. He's a property manager and realtor in southeastern Michigan. He started with very little money, limited knowledge, and one single family rental. All right, that's good place to start, right? He quit his 20-year career job to take a pay cut to get into full-time property management and oversaw about 800 units. Okay, so if that wasn't good, right? Then he quit that job, right? For the experience. His property manager gave up his W-2 safety net to take his second pay cut, and where he followed his dream of working full-time in real estate. And he's going to share this story with you tonight. So not only did he quit one job, he quit two jobs to further his dreams, and he's accomplished all this in about 4.5 years. He's got 41 units. We just talked the other day, and he closed on a 8 unit that he'll talk to you about as well. So he's actively doing this. He's doing it with his wife. And again, his model is using his own money. Okay, so this is not a syndication model. This would be, self-funding. So it is possible, right? Anything is possible as long as you put your mind to it and get it going. So without further ado, I'm going to turn everything over to Grant and keep the doorbell ringing here because we get people still coming in. But please give a warm welcome. And Grant, the floor is yours, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Pat. I just want to say I appreciate you having me on. I've been excited to do this show. I know you get a lot of people that come to your event, so thanks for having me, first of all, right off the bat.
Thank you. Appreciate you having your time on a Wednesday evening with us.
Yeah. So, I guess I can kind of start in the beginning if that would help. But,
sure.
Basically, I want everybody to know, everybody here, I'm at 41 units. Some people have a lot more than that. Some people have a lot less. But basically what I did, and when I say it's really my wife and I. So my wife and I are 100% partners on this. She's as active as I am. So, but basically what we did was we copied. We went out there. We found a group like Pat's. We met some people who are active and actively doing things. And we just asked them, what are you doing? What do you suggest we do? And then we went to work, and we actually did the things they said to accomplish. So that's the importance of meetups like this and groups like that. But basically, I didn't invent anything new. I just copied other people, and really.
So it's really that easy. It's really that easy. You don't have to take years of school. Have to have millions of dollars in the bank. You just have to go out and do it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's it. So, and basically in the beginning, I didn't have anyone to copy. So 2003 is when I myself, unmarried, bought 3 single family homes. I'll make it all into a short, quick story. Nobody wanted to pay. I didn't know how to deal with tenants. Everybody owed me like $5,000 each tenant, and didn't know what to do. So I had to declare bankruptcy. I chose to, and I gave the properties back to the bank, gave them back in great condition. I just needed to get out. It was just the biggest stressor of my life. Needed to get out. My life wasn't in order back then either, my personal life. Fast forward to 2011, that was done. 2003, I was done out of it. In 2011, I quit drinking. That was a big issue in my life. And with the help of God, I accomplished that. And that's really when my life started to change. So when people say, can my life change? You can really make your life change. I just want to touch on that for a second. But and then 2015, met my wife. We decided, hey, this is something we're both interested in. We both want to own real estate. And we thought, let's do it. It sounds great. I mean, work for ourselves, be our own bosses. Sounds fantastic, right? And it is, but there's a lot of work that goes with it.
Not as passive as they always make it out to, is it?
No, it's not. And that's something I'm going to touch on too, that people really need to realize. But the thing is, we bought our first house. I had 20,000, she had 20,000, put it together, bought a house, rehabbed it. We're out of money, right? She moved in with me. Then we got married. She moved in with me. Then we had our second rental. What we did, then we scraped up some money, credit card debt. We did personal loans. She took one out. I took one out to buy another home for our third rental. And that's really how we've done things. And then we packaged, once we get a few rentals together, we'd pack them together, do a blanket commercial loan.
Okay.
On them, we'd take that money and then we'd go purchase more homes. And then we got to the point where we'd take that money and people would buy the homes for us. They'd lend us the money. We would use the money from the blanket loan and we would do the rehab on those houses. And then in 6 months, we would do another blanket loan with another package of houses and we would pay all those investors back. And that's really how we grew. I'm just kind of breezing over all of the sleepless nights and the, believe me, there's been some moments that I really sat there. I remember in a house where the ceiling was gone. I could see up into the roof of the bungalow going, oh man, I hope this works. You know what I mean? Early on. I mean, because you just really, it's just faith. It's just learn the steps to take, educate yourself like this. And then you got to take the steps, and you got to believe. And we're still going through that process. No matter what size you get, you're always growing, and growth is painful, and we're still going through that today.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the biggest thing that you mentioned is you got with people like-minded, got with people that could say, listen, how do I do this? I'm sitting in this house. I just bought this thing, and you're looking up, and there shouldn't be a hole there, right? So obviously you had a mentor or somebody to say, hey, John, Steve, Bill, all right, what do I need to do with this? Instead of letting that stop you, you took their advice and move forward. I mean, and again, like you said, change is always difficult, but change is always going to happen, whether it's to you or you do change yourself, right? It's always better to have change that you control. And I think that's key there, is that you sought out those people, because real estate, even investing, when I was in single family home, it can be lonely at times, but it's a sport, right? You have to have a team to pull together to rely on those things when you're looking at that toilet that's overflowing for the third time and going, oh my God, why did I get into this? Have those people, have your back.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, I happen to find my mentor friend now. And I just went to a meeting and saw somebody that was attracting a lot of attention from other people because he was actively doing something in a meeting. You go to any meeting, you're going to find the people that are active, because it's the people that other people want to talk to. Whether the guy has 10, 20 units and you have one, that's fine. I mean, we reach out to those people that have those units or have done a syndication, if you're looking to syndicate, and get around them, pick their brain. And then, my advice is do what they say. The valuable thing is they've already been through the problems that you're going to go through. You're going to go through and come across all these issues and problems. These people have already been through those problems. They're on to their next set of problems. Okay. Because they're bigger. The gentleman that was my mentor was at 40 units. And, he gave me like 5 things to do. I don't remember what they were, but he said, hey, here, do these 5 things. And he told me, he's told me, he's like, I was shocked you came back and you did them. Nobody ever does anything I say. You know what I mean? And it's really true. I've talked to more people that, unfortunately, they just, they don't do anything. And it's not for everyone though. So, you don't look down on anybody at all. It's not for everyone. Cause like I said, there's been a lot of sleepless nights to grow, to move forward.
Exactly. Let me touch on one thing that you said. When you go to these meetings, seek out people in the meeting that are actively doing it. Kind of describe that to me. Obviously you go to these RIAs and there's, 100 people in the room. How do you really know that this guy is is it the way he's talking, the way he's looking? Kind of give me a feel for that.
Well, sure. Yeah, no problem. You got to go more than once. That's my suggestion. You'll know, because you'll see the same people over and over. You'll see people wash out. People won't come back. You'll never hear from them again, unfortunately. But you'll know. You'll talk to them. The first person that lent me money, we probably all know who he is. He's got long white hair, and there's probably a lot of people here that know who he is. But I knew him for a year or longer, and my mentor friend, he kind of vouched for me, and the guy, after a year and a half or however long it was, finally, we had a relationship already, but he, kind of said, hey, if you ever need some money, I'll lend you some money. That's how it works. If I wasn't going to those, establishing a relationship, he could see my progress. He could see that, wow, we were doing what we said, and we were paying people back. We were basically doing what we said. And that's huge, but you got to keep going. And what I like to suggest to people is find somebody always like 10 times ahead of you. So if you give 0 units, look for somebody with 10. You have 10, try to look for someone with 100. You have 100, look for somebody with 1,000. They've already been through those problems you're going through or about to go through, and they know how to handle them. And again, like I said, every step along the way, you have a different set of problems. And when you can find people that are slightly bigger, then that'll help you when you come across them.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that because I do the same thing as looking to, okay, who's got more here? Who's it? Because you're right. They already have these challenges already done. And they're on to the new challenge. They say, oh, yeah, well, hey, I did this. Call this guy and he take care of it. Okay, I've been 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do this. Well, yeah, you should have done it here, this and that. So that's a great way to do it. And I also like the fact that you said like the consistency, going to the meetings. And, a lot of this stuff is not, like these Zoom meetings here in the last year. It takes time to do this, but, it's not going to do it by itself. People aren't going to just drop and say, I want to, hey, be my sponsor for 200 units, right? It's just not going to happen. So that's good that you said that and the consistency of that. So now, once you got there, so now we talked earlier on the phone, kind of walk us through this last 8 unit, because the reason I asked is one, it was a 1031 exchange. And again, you're self-funded, and I think people want to understand how you did that. I do, obviously, but walk us through that, how you did that and how that came about.
So the 8 unit, I'm a full-time realtor in Southeast Michigan. And let me back up there. My wife and I made the decision. I think we had like 5 single-family homes, and then we had apartments. And we made the decision, we're transitioning out of single family homes. Didn't make sense for us anymore, we felt. So, and this was in December or January, we made this decision of this year, January this year maybe. And we made the decision, so we started selling them. Well, we were going to have a huge capital gains tax to pay, around $70,000. So we thought we'll do a 1031 exchange where we put all of our profits into a 1031 exchange. It's a third party. They take the money. We never touch it. And once we find a property of equal or better value, I guess would be a good way to put it, those funds are now put towards the new property. And that way we can defer paying capital gains on it. So, and it's a great concept, but it's very tricky. There's some laws on it, and but the main things are you have 45 days to identify a property. So anybody out there listening, if I told you got 45 days to buy a property, or you're going to pay $70,000, I mean, man, your back's against the wall, right?
Exactly.
So it was tough. 45 days to identify, and then 680 days to close on it. So basically day 43, I called everybody I could, every owner, all off market. I reach out to people. I look at buildings, and if I think it might be a good target for us, then I'll try to find the owner, try to reach out to the owner.
Let's stop right there. So that when you're reaching out, you have a selected target market. So you weren't just, calling the whole world. You have a selected target market in southeastern Michigan that you had targeted, right? So now you set your sights on that area, and then that's how you started building up this. So that's important to know that, okay, yes, you had 45 days, but you also have to be really targeted. So, okay, when you start doing this, yes, you have 45 days. Don't start going to a market that you have no idea anything about. So you already knew the market, which helps, right?
Yeah, completely. So, we reached out to brokers, but yeah, that's exactly it, because we self-manage. So 42 we're selling units. We'll be at 41 units. We self-manage, so we have to keep it tight. We can't drive an hour away to work on a building for a water leak or something. It just doesn't make sense. So we focus right around where we live. That's the only reason we target this area. It's because it's where we live. So it makes sense. So that's what we do. So, I encourage anybody to listen to this in your city. Your market, your city better than anybody, and look around on Google Maps. That's what I would do. And I find buildings that look a little bit bigger than houses, and then I'll zoom in, I'll look at them, I'll go street view, I'll see if it's an apartment. And that's kind of what I do. I look all over on Google Maps, in our target area. And that's what I did. I mean, I was on there day and night, looking, and then, there's ways to find out the owner. Really simple, business entity search. If it's a company name, and it'll tell you the the owner's name, more than likely, and then Google the owner, and I would put phone number or cell phone number in there. And a lot of cell phone numbers are on the internet now. So
yeah, and a big thing was that $70,000 tax bill was driving you, right? That was
yeah, that and my determination. I mean, it was I'm always, always looking for the next property. So I mean, I'm thinking about it right now. You know what I mean? Because we're always thinking, and we always have something in mind that we're looking at. So that was it. But yeah, the 70 grand that kept me up. You know what I mean? Because I'm acquisition. So there's no one else to blame if we don't find it. Not that anyone would blame me, but I would, I would take it personally for a short time, then I'd get over it. But yeah, it really drove me. I reached out to a lot of owners. Now I have contacts with a lot of owners that aren't looking to sell this minute, but possibly in the future. And that really helped. That really got us moving forward. And like I said, day 43, so day 45, we're done. It's over with. Day 43, this 8 unit hit the market, the MLS, believe it or not, in Woodhaven. And that's literally 1.5 miles from our house. We live in Trenton, Michigan, and it's 3 minutes from our other buildings. So it couldn't have worked better. The thing was, what I had to do, now I had to get this under contract because it hit the market. It's hot. The market is on fire right now. So I got it under contract in about 4 hours. I had to actually go show a house. I had to go show a house, and then I had to come back because the agent said, write it up. I said, I'll be back. I got to go show a house first. And I came back, I wrote it up. And what I did, I was able to offer sight unseen because we have buildings in this market there, to your point of know your market, right? I know what the water is. I know what expenses are. I know what the gas bill is going to be. I know all that. I have 2 other buildings. In that
general
area.
Facility. Okay. All right.
Sight unseen, as long as the building, wasn't falling down, we knew we could do it. And that's what we did. So I got it locked up. Like I said, within 4 hours. And the other thing I did, I'm a realtor. So it was on the MLS. So there was a commission involved with it. We were at a stalemate at the purchase price. The listing price. Now, if you guys know anything about the market right now and you're following it, whatever the house is listed for, that's not what they want.
That's a starting point.
In this market. So that's what happened. They listed it at 625. I said, boom, 4 hours. Here you go. Let's do this. They said, actually, he wants about 640. And I'm like, listen, it's not going to appraise, first of all. Said, well, we don't care. It's the way it is, and that's the market. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you my commission back to the owner. I'll give my commission back to the owner, and that was about $18,000. And I said, just keep it. And that's what I did to get the deal. And wow. Some people might not, I don't know, but to me, it was worth it. So now we're gonna have that asset for years to come. We did overpay too, just to let everybody know. It appraised for $600,000. We bought it for $625. So it did, we did overpay. The beautiful thing with apartments is you can force appreciation. And we're raising rents. We have to because the building won't function. It's 2 bedrooms. The average rents are $712. And rents in the area should be about $950 to $1,000 for a 2-bedroom.
Wow.
So we have to raise rents to $850. Not something we like to do, but we have to be drastic on this one because it needs work. So we're raising rents to $850. It appraised at a 6.5 cap. So if you do the math, that adds about $100,000 in value. So then the building would be worth at a 6.5 cap around $703,000 or something like that.
Okay.
So that's the value of apartments.
Wow.
And that happened in 3 months. We added that value.
Wow. All right, let me back you up here because you hit a couple gold nuggets here. I want to kind of go over here, if you don't mind. So now
over the map.
you overpaid how did that transaction happen at the bank? Did you have to bring more money to the table now? How does that, because obviously the bank says, hey, Mr. Appraiser, what is this thing worth? And they say, well, it's X, but you're buying X plus Y. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so the bank was comfortable with it. They knew we had 222. I share, everything. We had $220,000 to deploy. So we're putting that down. No matter what it appraised for, that's what's going down because you cannot touch the money.
Okay.
So we're all in on 220. So I don't care what it appraised.
So you were doing more than 20% down or 30% down.
Yeah.
You were, so that kind of took care of the, hey, are these guys fly by night? Because you're putting 200,000 down on a 600,000 asset. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
And that was like 36% we put down. So right in the appraisal too, the appraiser wrote, this is a 1031 transaction, which typically is people overpay on because they know they got you. I mean, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We overpaid. The bank was fine with it because we put so much down, but we had to cover that. Yeah, that 25,000. The bank isn't going to lend us 625. They'll lend us 600.
Gotcha.
80% of 600,000. So
okay, but your business plan supported that because you said you're going from what 700, right? Now you're going up to 8, maybe even 1,000. Now, what's your business plan? Is that in a year's time getting that? Yeah, you're forcing appreciation, which is this is exactly what we look for in apartments, right? This is the low rents. You're going to come in and you're going to do some, we've already talked about some of the stuff you were doing, fixing the units up. And then all of a sudden now, Mr. Tenant, you need to be paying here because now this is the area rents, right? So you're already adding value to this thing, day one or week one of ownership.
Correct. Yeah. And like I said, we're giving them 45 days. We just sent the letters out the other day. We've talked to some tenants, explained why we have to do it. So everyone's got a business plan and everyone will look and, not everyone, but let me just say, if people look and say, okay, rents are going to be $950, $1,000. Great. Let me run my numbers based off that. The problem is getting there. And you have to remember, if you're self-managing, you're the one in there dealing with the tenants, dealing with all the problems, dealing with the commotion of raising rent. So you need to keep that in mind when you do your business plan. So what we figured, okay, we're going to raise it to 850. It's a little drastic. It's 712 average rent. We do not like to do that. But again, the building can't function. So we have to do it. But the thing we figured, okay, we'll raise rent. Let's say 4 people move out. We'll have to do 4 rehabs. We're going to bring them up to 950 to 1,000, whatever the market dictates. And it depends on the level of our rehab. So now there's 4 up to 950 or 1,000. And then we figured by next year, we should be close. We'll probably have 4 more move out. And that would be our 8. So realistically, I think I actually told them like 16, maybe 18 months, something like that. The bank. This is the bank who I'm having this conversation with.
Gotcha.
The bank wants to see my pro forma. The bank wants to see, just like you said, what are you going to do? What are your plans here? Why would we lend you money on this when it's only doing this amount of money? So it's my job, one, to show the bank, look at the deal we have here. Once we put some money into this and really get it operating. The other thing to show them is how can we perform? So we have a track record. This is our third deal with this lender. And so they know us pretty well. And so I mean, they go to bat for us too. It's a commercial broker we use. And he goes to bat for us. And, really we got that and we were able to show the bank, hey, this is a good deal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now, when you got this under a contract, and I like the fact that you've got a business plan, which everybody should have, whether you're doing it or not. You have to do it because, like you said, you've shown it to your broker who goes to bat for you, shows it to the banker. Even though you had 36% down, they still got to understand that they're lending you money. Right? What's your plan? Now, this isn't the first multi-unit that you've bought, right? or is this the first multi-unit? You own other buildings in that area?
Yeah, this is the third. So we own
Okay.
three other. Yeah, this is our third building. Just purchased last week, I believe it was. We closed on it.
Okay. All right. So the track record's there. So the banker and the mortgage people, they can use those as stories to do that. Okay. So now, what would you have done different if this was your first one and you just had your single family track record? Because I think a lot of people here are on the call and have been in that position. Hey, listen, I don't have three buildings like you, Grant. How do I, and it's all great advice. How would you say them doing that without that experience?
Well, I mean, it depend on the level that you want to be involved with it. Partnering up on, on a syndication, like with you on the GP side would be, general partner side would be, limited partner side, the LP side, sorry, would be an option. But what I would suggest, if you have that history with single families, that doesn't mean you can't jump to apartments. You can do that, no problem. What I did was, again, I networked, I went to events, I met the broker. He was referred to me actually by another friend of mine. We were having lunch and my friend and the broker, the commercial broker, the lender, were good friends. And he said, hey, call, because they've seen what I've done and they've seen that my wife and I are doing what we say. So he said, call my friend. He really, he helps a lot of people out. And, we all knew the same people and, I called him, I met him at events. So really it's building that track record with all the people in this space because, people want to help you. They really do. And they'll help you if they see that you're trustworthy, you pay people back, you do what you say, and you're around them so people can get to know you. It's a very small group of people in this space that are active and that are doing things. So believe me, yeah, people like to help. People do events like this for free, Pat. I mean, you're doing this and just to help people.
Yeah, and that's true. They do business with the people they know, like, and trust, right? And that's how you meet those people. And that's why I started this, because obviously at the time when I started a year ago, there really wasn't events like this, to talk multifamily, to talk in depth in that, because what you're hitting on is issues that people are running into. You've already eclipse some of those problems you talked about earlier, right? There's somebody who doesn't have something. How do they get over that to the next thing? And that's what you're looking for in a partner or just in somebody to talk to. Say, listen, I got this 8-unit. What do I do with it? How do I proceed? Well, do this, do that, do this. I mean, that's the way to do it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like anything else. I mean, don't be, if someone hasn't even started, don't be intimidated by apartments or anything like that. It's just like anything. So focus on one single family, if that's what you're going to do, if that's your goal, and buy a house. But you got to start somewhere. We didn't buy an apartment and knew what to do. Well, I had a background in management, but I'm saying we did. Let's say this: we didn't buy a single family home, and we knew what to do. We did it all. We were pulling our hair out, going, what now? And so that's when we started to go to meetings. We didn't have any money, and I met my friend, and he said, you got to buy some houses with no mortgages. Get them any way you can. And so we did the credit cards, we did the personal loans, and then we, like I said, we would package them together and
roll them up to the next one.
And roll them into a commercial loan. Yep. And then buy 3 more. So there's always going to be, no matter where you're at, you're always going to go, well, how am I going to get the money? I mean, that's everyone's problem. Even people a lot farther ahead of me, they run into that too. They go, well, where am I going to get it? But the thing is, they know they're going to get it. They've established a track record. There's people that want to work with them, want a return on their money. And they know they're going to get it, but that's what it is. No matter where you're starting out, these problems don't get easier; they get bigger. You just learn how to handle them a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So don't ever think investing gets easier. You get bigger problems. Believe me.
Yeah, and obviously the bigger rewards as well too. But anything worthwhile, right? And anything in life is going to have a challenge, but the learning that happens during that challenge, right? The couple challenges you had during your 203 and 2011, those challenges made you stronger to deal with what you're dealing with now, right? For increasing income or dealing with tenants, that all happens, right? And then sometimes people want to do that, want to be active like you. Sometimes people want to be passive, and be passive. It doesn't really matter, but there's a lot of different ways to do real estate. So that's awesome that you share that.
Yeah, and that 2003 through is like 2007, I think it was over with. That taught me how to deal with tenants. Okay, I wouldn't trade that in for anything. I know everybody says that. I wouldn't trade it in because I have no choice anyway. But it was a painful learning experience. But I learned that I can treat people fairly, and still expect them to live up to their end of the bargain. So I did learn that there. So that was pretty invaluable. I heard all the excuses. It kind of prepared me for our next step in like 2015. So it was very helpful. And then, I don't know if you want me to touch on I wanted to talk about the first apartment we bought too.
Sure, go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
So I know I'm jumping all around here, so sorry.
That's okay.
So like 2017, my wife was doing some math and she's like, we'd have to own, like, let's say if we make $200 a door on a home, because everything has a mortgage on it, right? After all your repairs, your property management fee, everything, taxes, if we clear 200 a door, we'd have to own 50 doors, 50 homes, to make 10,000 a month, right? And we were like, that's a lot of houses. We had 11 at that point. We're like, oh my gosh. And I'm killing myself after work, going around doing all this. And I'm like, we have to get how many more? And because we got a nice high number, we thought, 10,000 a month, we'd be able to retire, and go on vacation and actually live a little above our means. And that's when we said, okay, we've had enough with this. We're going to have to go into apartments. I found an apartment off market, and this is the first one. It's a 20 unit, and I found it off market. I actually knew the owner. I went to him, approached him. It took about a year and a half for us to get it to close. Long story on that one. That one was getting lost to taxes. We contacted him. We told him 2 weeks before he was losing it, you're going to lose this. We were already under contract on it. We said, you're going to lose it. You need to pay 50 grand now. And luckily he was able to, kept it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. This was just crazy. The lender, he paid his mortgage off back in 2011 or whatever it was on that 20 unit, the person we bought it from.
Okay.
His lender went out of business. So he had no paperwork saying that it was paid off. He didn't have a release.
Oh my God, he didn't have a release from the mortgage. Oh my gosh.
No, so we had to go to court to fight that. The lawyer he used took a lot of time for some reason. And it just took a long time to close. We bought that one. And so it was, just imagine, this is our first deal and we're just pulling our hair out, just going, please, Lord, let this thing close. And it was in the way we got those funds was from a blanket loan. We did a commercial loan. We refinanced 3 homes into a commercial loan. That gave us about $125,000. We were buying it on a land contract from him.
Okay.
So we didn't have all the bank fees, which was great.
Let's explain a land contract for those that don't understand a land contract, if you don't mind.
Got it. Yeah, that's just basically owner financing. So he owned it outright. So he basically said, I'll give you guys a mortgage on it. And you work the terms out with him. We told him, how about this? He said, his partner is older and doesn't want to wait 10 years to get his money. Okay. So we said, okay, how about this? Give us 28 months and we'll refinance it and get a commercial loan on it and pay you back. And he said, okay, that's fine. I said, how about 5% interest? He said, that's great. And we said, how about a 30-year amortization? And that was what really helped us, that amortization. That meant our payment was a little lower. So that helped us out. So we went to bat like day one on that building. And I was already in property management at this point. So I was already managing apartments, so we knew what to do. I mean, we're on it that day. We went to the building the day we closed and started talking to tenants, handing out, putting signs up and everything. But what we did there, that was a big lift. That needed everything. A roof, it needed, everything. The carpeting, common area carpeting was 60 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, no one had done anything on that for probably 30 years, no maintenance or just maintenance. And it was
That's
really
what they call a value add, and that's what we all look for, right? So you say that, and be like, you want those. You don't want the shiny pennies that you're going to pay premium for. That's awesome.
Yeah, so 625 for 20 units. So 16 months later, only 16 months, we refinanced. We took a loan out. That's another whole story. So it was during COVID. And we only wanted a loan for $800,000. So we said, because that would give us a check for $300,000. Okay. So we refinanced. The appraiser came back and said, this is a value of knowing your market too. The appraiser came back and said, actually, the building's only worth, I forget what he said, 850, 900,000 or something like that, which would have just blown our numbers and wouldn't have given us what we wanted. So I looked at the appraisal and he used a cap rate. Okay. And the cap rate of his appraisal was an 8.5. And then I looked at the buildings he was comparing them to. And one of the buildings was in a distressed area of Wayne. And that cap rate was 8.2. So he's saying our building in Trenton was at a higher cap rate than that one. So in the other two buildings he used, I was managing. I had managed them. My boss bought them and they were in complete disrepair when he bought them. So he's comparing our upgraded property to properties that were just a mess when they were purchased. So those aren't comparables. Okay. So what I did was I went back to, again, the broker we use, Commercial Broker, and I wrote him a long email. We discussed it, how we were going to handle this. He said, write it all down. And the one thing I did was I went and I showed the crime index compared with Wayne and Trenton. And I don't remember the exact number, but let's say it's average is 200 in the United States. The lower the number, I think it is, the better. Let's say Wayne was at, forgive me if I'm wrong, let's say Wayne was at 250. Okay. Trenton was at 77, the crime index. So very, very low. So I said to them, how can you compare these two properties in these two locations? They're not the same. And then also I had appraisals of the other properties because I reached out to my boss.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's like, I'll give you everything. Here's the appraisal. Here's all the money I spent on the property. So we sent all that over to the appraiser and said, you're wrong. Wow. And thank goodness. Now, he didn't have to do it. We had him right there. I mean, it was in the middle of COVID. Everyone was scared. I understand. So that's why it came in so bad. But he did look at it and he came back with a value of $1,030,000.
Holy Christmas. So, okay.
Yeah. So it was a big difference. So that gave us our loan for $800,000. That gave us a check for $300,000. And that gave us, now we had money to put back into the building. Now, if you're a real estate investor, you're going, yeah, 300 grand. Yeah. I know what he did with it. We didn't spend it. We didn't go on vacation, right? We bought more property. That's just what you do.
Put it back in the business. Yeah.
Real estate investors are always broke, right? They're always cash poor. So we put some money back into that property and we had some money. Now it's time to go look for another building. Well, I'd become a realtor by then, full time. I'd quit the property management job, become a realtor. And this is just how life leads you in directions, right? Mm-hmm. And, I was making zero income as a realtor to start, right? I mean, you gotta, it's a commission based.
Get the relationships, yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, people know me that I'm in real estate, so it's been good. But so what happened was I had a client, and we had the money in the bank. We're looking for a building, and I had a client that said, we were looking for homes, and she said, you know what? I think I'm I think I'm just going to stay in the house that I'm renting. Would you do me a favor? Would you call my landlord and see if he'll let me buy the home? And I said, yeah. And she said, you know what? He's also got apartments. I said, yeah, that's great. I'd love to call
Give me his number.
Yeah, because she knew too what we did, So I called him and I said, we talked and he said, yeah, that's fine. He said, listen, I'm not paying a commission or whatever. I said, no problem. You guys can do your own thing. I want what's best for you guys. Do your own thing. I'll just back away. And then I said, you know what? I hear you own apartments too. And he said, yeah, I'm actually thinking of selling one. I said, well, great. When can I look at it? We went and looked at it that night. My wife and I, we had a purchase agreement for him. It was either the next day or 2 days later. And he was, a little blown away. Like, wow, this is moving a little quick.
Whoa.
Yeah. But we gave him the number he wanted. We had to argue with we had to go back and forth with another group. We ended up getting that building. That was an 11 unit. That one's in Rockwood. So that was our second purchase. The thing with that one, we had the drains cameraed, which I always recommend. But there were some issues there that didn't get caught. And we had to actually when we were all done, it ended up probably being around $27,000 in plumbing repairs, breaking up the floor. The building appraised, for $470. I think we bought it for $430. So we were good, but we had all these repairs to do. So when you factor that in, we paid about the right price, I guess. But that was pretty much an eye opener. I learned a ton about plumbing. We were in Detroit for my birthday at Shinola Hotel. My wife and I, we figured, hey, we'll take a night and go celebrate my birthday. 10:30, we get a call from a tenant.
Your birthday's over.
Yeah, and just debris coming up into the tub,
Oh, geez. Okay.
It was it's sad, you don't want to own properties like that. So for the next month and a half, it was extremely difficult getting different plumbers out, trying to find the problem. Nobody could find it. Finally, they did find it. And, what the plumber did was he ran water from everywhere so that when he put his camera in, because there was bellies in the line and everyone would just say, it's just a little belly. Well, he ran water and when he all that clear water, the camera could now see underwater and he could see the bottom of the pipe was missing. It had fallen down.
Okay.
So that's how we found it, luckily. And he got it fixed for us. So we, knock on wood, haven't had that problem, but it probably happened 4 times in the first month and a half that we owned the property. So it was, that one was tough.
But even with all those headaches that you've had, and let's say learning experience, would you ever trade it and go back and get a W-2 job?
Well, no, here, and here's the thing. Let me ask everyone this. What time do you got to wake up tomorrow? Right? I don't have to. I have to wake up, don't get me wrong, but
yes,
we can turn the alarm off. My wife and I eat breakfast. We sat for an hour outside today and drank coffee. After lunch, we eat lunch together. Around scheduling our days, but those are things we schedule for us to spend time with each other.
Definitely.
And it is. We're not, where we want to be. 42 units, 41 units does not make you rich. But no, we wouldn't change it for anything. It is the freedom to do basically what we want and not have to ask a boss for permission, which was always my biggest goal in life. Was I just didn't like having a boss. So it worked out great for me.
It worked out awesome. That is awesome. Well, gosh, man, thank you for sharing. Let's do this. Let's open it up for questions, if you don't mind. If anybody's got any questions, anything, because you've hit on so many gold nuggets here. Anybody want to ask a question? You can, let's see, raise your hand, or just, why don't you just go ahead and shout it out, and we'll do it that way. Don't be bashful now. Nobody's got a question. You got to be kidding me.
Question.
Go right ahead.
When you got your first multi-units and you had to go in there and work with the people, how did you set it up to get all their contact information, or did you have to kind of go knock on doors to get it after you got the place?
That's a great question. So I'll speak with just about every building we buy so far. They don't have all their things in order. The one we just bought, one of the tenants doesn't even have a lease. We didn't get the leases until I don't know when. They're missing some of them, some of the pages. They don't have any contact information. The 8 unit we just bought, we had 0 contact information. So what we did was we created an estoppel letter, a letter stating your name, what your rent is, what your security deposit is, what's your late fee, do you have any pets, what's your cell phone, your email address. And basically, after we closed, we took that there, explained we're the new management company, and we're the new management company, and we'd like to go over this with you, make sure this is all correct. And, we'll have them fill it out and fill all their information and sign it. And basically that's what we do when we go there, right after we close.
Okay. When you close on it, when you're working with the person, do you guys talk about deposits and factor that in, or is that just something you kind of, when they move out, you got to kind of cover it yourself?
So that all goes through the title company, right? So the old owner owes us all their security deposits and rents, prorated rents. So they will actually pay that to us. And what we did on this one was we had them separate security deposits and prorated rents. Normally they'll deduct it from your closing fees, but we had so much money to put down. We said, we want that in a separate check because that gave us a starting operating account. I forget how much it was, $6,000, and then maybe $6,000 in security deposits, right? So now we already have security deposits, because what happens if you don't do it that way, you can do it any way you want that makes sense for you. But if you get it deducted when your tenants move out, you have to come up with their security deposits because you still owe it to them, and it was taken out at closing. So really you were compensated for it. So the tenants, those are their security deposits. When they move out, we give them their security deposits back. And I'll be honest with you, some of these units, when they move out, they're in such bad shape, the units, we end up basically just about giving them their security deposit back because it's so hard it was so neglected. It's hard to say, oh, you did this or you did that. I mean, there is wear and tear is an understatement. So, right or wrong, we give them their security deposit back, unless, there's deliberate damage or things like that. But, most of these buildings are in pretty rough shape.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, it also there's a cost too. Do you just give it to them, let them leave peacefully? Obviously, if they're loading up drywall in their pickup truck when they're leaving, you want to stop it. But again, it's kind of it's a business decision, right? You just want to leave them, let them go, let them walk out. Great, because that money you spend, give them, maybe it'll help them down the road.
So we, and it's because it's hard to break down what they did, that's why you give it back. I mean, it is a business. I'm not saying, give everybody security deposit back that does damage. That's not it at all. But one thing we did do during COVID, we weren't really sure what to do like everyone else, right? So we had a guy come to us. We knew he was a problem. He was inherited. We would never place him in the building, but he came with the building. And he was paying his rent, but he was getting Goodfellas to pay his rent. 1 month he'd get the church to pay his rent. He didn't work. He had some things he was doing that might not have been the best. I don't know, but we knew it was going to be a problem. We knew that eventually this was going to run out because people would call us and say, "Hey, we're only paying his rent once." And I said, "Well, then that's fine. I don't think you should have to pay him." But we knew it would be a problem. And during COVID, he came to us and said, I can't pay. We said, fine, we'll work with you. We gave him a break for a month. And then the next month he came back and said, I can't pay you. We said, well, we need you to give us a little bit. And he said, I can't pay you anything. And we said, okay, that's that's going to be a problem. So now you can't evict anybody. You can't, the courts aren't open. We're going through this whole process. So my wife said, why don't we give him cash for keys? I said, all right, that's a great idea. So we told him, I forget how much we gave him. We said, listen, you owe us, I forget how much, $1,500. He ended up owing us $2,000 in the end. And we said, you owe us all this money. You're not paying. You're not going to be able to pay. So why don't you move out? We're going to give you, we gave him maybe $750, $800 to move. And he's like, you're just going to give it to you. You said, yeah, we won't sue you. We won't go after the money. If you move in a week, I forget what the timeline was, but you get out in a week, we'll give you $800. So that's what we did to get him out of there, because otherwise, I mean, he could still be there. I don't know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen when you go to court. So we told him that, you know, and it was funny. I mean, I think the lady was from Goodfellas or somebody was trying to help him. She was there in the apartment, and I introduced myself. She said, well, I'm here to make sure that he gets his money, all of his money. I said, ma'am, he doesn't have any money. We're giving him this. This isn't his. I don't have to give him anything. This is something we're trying to do to help him so that he can move. You know, I just thought it was funny. It's just perception and what was explained to her and the actual reality of the situation. You know, it's there's always two sides to every story. And I was just a little taken aback, like, wait a minute. It's not the situation, but it worked out. He was able to leave. I hope he, you know, we wish him well. But we needed to get him out of there, and that's how we did it. You know, it's not great. The landlord always ends up, you know, I shouldn't say always, but you know, the landlord ends up, you know, losing out on some money. But in our situation, we got him out of there. I forget what he was paying, maybe $575. We rented it for $800, I think. And we have a fantastic tenant in there. Fantastic. One of the best tenants we've asked for. So, you know, it is what it is, but that's how that was that story.
That's all part of the business, right?
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good. One of those tenants that's eventually going to have to go, but it's been hanging on for quite a while. So.
Yeah. And it's not something you want to have to go through. And you know what I mean? We're compassionate with our tenants. You know, we have a lot of respect. We have good relationships with them. But it's also a business. I mean, and that's what it is. So, you know, it's a business. You know, here was the contract we signed and we need to abide by it. You know, I mean, our rent's due on the 1st, it's late on the 2nd. And that's it. So, you know, and they understand that if you want to live in our communities, our apartment buildings, that's what it is. We recently just went to non-smoking. We're in the transitional phases of that, but that's working out real well for us. But again, it's, you know, I wanted to, here I see Pat too. I just wanted to go over a couple of questions that you had asked me and I had written down.
Okay. We'll get to you, Hartford. Hang on a minute, man.
It said, explain how you incentivize your tenants in a win-win for everybody. I just thought that was a great question. I just wanted to touch on it because you know, we're doing the parking lot, we're doing the common areas, and we're doing the landscaping in front. And I just had a conversation with a tenant last night that said, I don't care about any of that. I spend zero time out there, right? I spend time in my unit. And I said, well, tell me about your unit. He's like, well, the last owner didn't fix this. I got a water leak under my sink, my bathroom fan. I've been missing a vent. I got this, that, blah, 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 blah. Went on and on and on. I said, listen, here's the great thing. We're going to fix all that. We're going to fix it. And going forward, you're not going to have those problems because we're responsive and we're going to take care of you. And we're going to make this a nice place for you to live. And the guy said, wow, that's great. That's really good. So that really is the win-win. We do what we say and we fix things. So I think that was a great question.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I think that when you address it head on like that with somebody, right, they're expecting you to say, hey, fill out a maintenance report and then keep walking. You address that with that person. You treated them like a human being and, hey, you listen to them. And a lot of times it's just listening to them, right? Will that guy
Yeah.
ever had that where they give this long laundry list and then you go back to the office and then every person comes, no, she never called. Everything was okay. She just wanted to be heard, right? You're like, oh, okay, well, send somebody over there anyway because I think she said this, and they just want to be heard.
Yep. You're completely right. They do. And you're the first person that they can call and complain to. So just listen compassionately. One thing we do as well, though, is I tell them, I'm upfront with the tenants and I'll say, listen, there's a lot of problems here, right? You've lived here for a little bit. Yeah, I do know that. Okay. I say, this is what we have to do. We have to attack the big problems first: plumbing, the roof, the parking lot. We have to do those things for the building to function. We're going to focus on those first. So send us an email with not your wish list, but the problems that are wrong in your apartment so that we have a record of it. And when we get done with those big things, then we're going to go over and we're going to focus on that. I'm not going to come in day one and do, certain minor things. Now, plumbing, we'll do plumbing, yes, right off the bat. Anything leaking, we want to take care of it. But I let them know, and we're upfront and honest with them and tell them, we will fix it, but you got to give us a minute. Let's wrap our heads around this building and go from there.
I liked how you did that. Awesome. Listen, Hartford, you've had your hand up, man. I hope it's not turning blue from being up so long. Go right ahead, sir.
No, I just wanted to jump back to the appraiser that you spoke about. Do you feel that, I just wanted to understand, you were saying, or was your feeling that he kind of rushed through it because it was COVID, or did you feel like this appraiser just wasn't a good appraiser?
I wouldn't say wasn't a good appraiser because we had him on the next building too.
Okay.
And he did a great job. It was directly, I think it was March. So, when the world shut down, he came out to appraise our building. So you got to remember, banks were, like our lender as well, stopped lending. Now we weren't really aware of that till after the fact because the loan took a long time to go. But everyone was, these banks, they don't want to lend money and have the world end, right? They need to know that they can get paid back. Look, 2008, look what happened then. So everyone was kind of, didn't know what to do, I think. So I think everyone was kind of hedging their bets and kind of backing away a little bit from it. And also I think a refi, I think they tend to go a little lower on value on a refi than on a purchase.
Okay.
So I think coupled with all that, I don't think he did. I got to give this guy a lot of credit because an appraiser could have said, no, it is what it is. You're stuck with it. He didn't. He said, let me look at the stuff and let me see if I made a mistake. That takes a pretty big person to say, you know what, I made a mistake. You were right. So, I give him a lot of credit for listening to us because that really could have set us back. So all along the way, there's these little things we've had to fight for that really could have set us back. And, we're fortunate for it.
Yeah, because I'm listening to your story and I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure you paid a nice penny for the appraiser and then you had to fight to get it set right. I'm like, man, that's that's a lot of time and energy, and you paid this guy to entrust him to do it correctly. But yeah, I completely understand during that time frame, nobody understood what was going on, and it's easy to look back and say, oh, what you should have did, 14 months later. But
yeah,
okay,
keep in mind he's independent too, so which means he doesn't work for me and he doesn't work for the bank, right? He's an independent. It's an independent appraisal. It's supposed to be. So, you know what I mean? Even though I pay him, he doesn't have to perform for me, right? It's independent. So he can do whatever he wants. But it just was some bad information, bad comps. And he probably didn't know that. I knew that because I knew the buildings. I was there day one when we took over on them. I was there when my boss purchased them. So I knew the shape they were in. So, when I saw the appraisal, I was upset. But I knew, I'm like, I got it. I got him. You know what I mean? How are you going to argue with me? I'm completely right. And I can't always say that, right? Believe me. But I was confident. Let's put it that way. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I was confident that, and I was confident that anyone would be able to look at that and say, you know what, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? And thank goodness he did. I give him a lot of credit.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Lakes, you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Go
Hi,
right ahead,
Grant.
sir.
A great story. Thank you for sharing it. And can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, cool. So you said your goal is to get 200 per door. Are you there, or is your monthly income and balance sheet is more important for you than the number of units, I guess? Like syndication, I understand people go for 100, 300, 500. That is their goal. So here, I believe you're more about monthly income and balance sheet. Are you able to achieve it?
I have small goals along the way. We're at 41, so 50 is my next small goal, right? Then it's going to be 75, then it's 100. Just things to entice me. 50 units. That to me is like, wow, over 50 units. But what has changed though a little bit is you can't eat units, right? You can eat cash flow. So to us, cash flow is important. They say if you can do $100 a door, you're good on cash flow. That's kind of a target to shoot for. So that's kind of something we shoot for when we're acquiring a building. But we also want to see that rents can go up to here. So on a purchase, I mean, we were thin on buying that building. We were really thin on the cash flow. There wasn't much. But that's something we try to look for. Let's see if we can get the numbers to work out for $100 a door purchase price. Where does that fall? Is it still, is it right at their asking price? And then can we raise that to, can we raise rents, $200 a door after rehab? That's something we look at. But cash flow, definitely now is something like our goal is $10,000 a month cash flow. My goal, my wife's might be different. But my goal is 10,000 cash flow to us a month. And are we there? No, we're not, because 41 units. Now we are hitting on some well above 100. We're probably around 200, probably better on maybe at one building. It all depends. But our second building, remember, we had that big pipe issue. $30,000. So that's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
That came from us. So that building's paying us back. So we're cash flowing on the building, but we're also paying ourselves back a small amount, which is separate from our cash flow. We keep that separate. That has to go back and pay us back, and cash flow is what's left. This building we just acquired, we're not there because we just acquired it. So it's got to come up to the 850. We have some things we need to do to get it up and operational. So, I mean, it might not be operational. It could be 6, could be 8 months. I mean, until it's really stabilized where we want it. But the second building, that'll be, that we still got a little ways to go to pay that back in cash flow. But, the beautiful thing is it's there. We can see it, right? I mean, we see these 3 properties. We know what they're doing. We know the potentiality. So that's a beautiful thing. And the other thing is we're going to refinance those properties, just like we did the first one. We're going to refinance the first one again too. The first one that gave us $300,000 tax-free. It's a refinance, just like you refinance your home. It's tax-free money, and you can deploy all that money. And that's what we're going to do with the second one. That's what we're going to do with the third one. So there's our growth. So now it's funny because I asked my wife the other day, I said, because in the beginning, you have no idea how you're going to grow, what you're going to do. You have no idea, right? No one does. There's no secret formula. And now I asked my wife, you know how we're going to get our next building? And she goes, yeah, same way we got the last one, And I'm like, isn't that kind of cool to know, though? You know what I mean? We're like, it's kind of cool to know.
It's also
that.
too that you have systems or rules of thumb, just like Lakes asked, when you're looking at these buildings, here's how we're going to do this, right? And then you learn those along the way. And that's like the rules of thumb of, cash on cash,
Right.
the cap rate. Those are all things you look at when you're buying these buildings. So then again, that's your business plan that you can execute on or towards that business plan, not just, I'm just going to buy it, see what happens. No, you have a goal, right? It may be, okay, we're going to do this much on cash flow, or we're going to have this much per door. And that's how you do that. And you work towards that. That's awesome that you shared that. Thank you. God, that's interesting. Did that answer your question, Lakes?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. The building you said you had plumbing issues. Did you do inspection or no?
So yeah, we did. We camera drains, and for some reason or another, the plumber couldn't get into every drain.
Oh, okay.
But he just didn't catch it. I'm not blaming anyone, but it just wasn't caught. Mm-hmm. We knew there was an issue there. The owner did tell us. Now the owner doesn't have to tell us anything.
Okay.
Because it's a commercial property, so they don't have to disclose. Like on a house, you have to fill out a disclosure. Any water in the basement, anything like that. On a commercial property, you're on your own. Good luck. So that's why we bring a team in, a roofer, we bring an electrician, our HVAC guy, and our plumber, and we camera all the drains. And he just, I don't know, we couldn't catch it. But the owner said, listen, every month or so, I got to snake that drain because there's a backup. So we knew there was an issue there, right? You just don't really understand until you go through it exactly what it could be. Exactly. I mean, you always say, yeah, it could be a pipe, but we cameraed it and it looked okay. All we saw on the camera, there's a couple of bellies in the pipe, which is okay. Water can still flow through that. Yeah. So we thought, well, I don't know. The plumber said, it looks okay. It's not perfect. It's not pitched perfect. There's a couple of bellies, but, so we went ahead with it, but we still would have bought it. We just, if we would have known that, we would have just probably negotiated with the seller. He was reasonable. If we would have showed him that, he probably, definitely wouldn't have paid for the whole thing, but he might have, he might have renegotiated a little with us on it. So he was pretty reasonable.
Can you talk a little bit about your underwriting criteria? Since it's an old building, are you a little more conservative? And now with COVID and stuff, how do you deal with it?
So basically, we just have pretty standard underwriting. We just know how much per unit water is going to be, how much gas if it's a boiler, because we use Constellation for our gas. We don't use DTE here in the area. We use Constellation. It's a little cheaper. So we know per unit what that's all going to break out to. I use Michael Blanc's analyzer. I don't know if you got one or not.
Yeah.
That's what I use. It's pretty good. A lot of people use that. So I just plug those numbers in there. He's got some rules of thumbs that are, are pretty good in there, but you just get to know your area a little bit. And that's what I do. And, an older building, 65. I mean, most of the time when the buildings are in their 60s and, they're getting sold, they probably haven't been kept up that well. It's probably time for a new parking lot, time for a new roof, maybe time for a new boiler.
Right.
Maybe your zone valves are bad. Your windows are original. Right. That's what we've come to see. And those are mom and pop operations. And that's kind of what you're looking for to get a better deal in this market. They're even getting top dollar for those. So it's a little tougher, but yeah, you definitely need to know that going into it. A 1965 building, you're going to have plumbing leaks. Make sure do you have galvanized pipe? You're going to have issues if you got galvanized pipe. Is it copper? Your HWCs, those are heating with cooling. Those are your magic packs. Those are notoriously old all the time. So those are if you look at the outside of an apartment building, you see a square, looks like fins on it. That's your heating and your air conditioning unit. I recommend you get those checked. Those usually are old, 20 years old, and still running. So yeah, there's a lot to look at, but it's like anything. Once you buy a house, now you know what to look for, you know what to do, you understand it, right? You just got to do it. Once you buy a apartment building, either with, syndication or getting on that way, or if you decide to do it yourself, like we did, once you buy it, now it's a little easier because you've gone through it, and I know what goes on in my area in regards to rent, in regards to expenses. My contractors are in this area, so it just becomes a little easier like anything, but you got to do it,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Which analyzer? The question was EHAB. It's Michael LeBlanc's analyzer. You can find it at themichaelleblanc.com. That's the best place to look for it there. I think it's, I don't know, $150, something like that. But yes, definitely get something there. Before I get too late here, goodness, it's already 8:15. I apologize for keeping it, but this has been great. How can people get a hold of you, Grant? How can they get a hold of you? How can they ask you more questions they have? Let's start there.
So, one good way is our website, my wife and I's. It's warringtoncapital.com. warringtoncapital.com. And there's a contact us form there. You can get a hold of us. The other two ways, Instagram, at Grant Warrington on Instagram. You can say hi there. You can direct message me. And then YouTube, my channel is Grant Warrington. So I do videos on there. I do videos related to being a realtor and videos on how to repairs in apartment buildings and how we do certain things. So there's some fun content on there. So reach out to me in those spaces. And if you got any value out of this too, I ask, please follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for spending almost an hour and 20 minutes with us tonight. I really do. Thank you. Did anybody else have any other last questions? Let me look through the chat here real quick because I do want to respect his time. Let's see here. One person did ask real quick. Okay, there's just information. Good. Going back to the Eckerson asked, are you documenting how their people are moving out? I'm assuming. How do you legally ensure they cannot return? That's the question.
So we have a release of rights to possession. So it's a legal document. They have to sign that. They release their rights to possession. They turn over the keys and they leave the building. So that's how all of our turnovers go with anyone. They have to sign that.
Okay.
And that takes care of that. And during COVID, we never really were affected by COVID. A little bit, just we worked with people. But one of the big things, if you do have tenants, that I don't want to say aren't going at it. I don't want to give any kind of legal advice, but one thing because on our second building, we had to get someone out. So when we were taking the building over, we saw they were causing problems for the other tenants. Okay. On our 11 unit, right off the bat, we knew we're like, this is not good. We have good tenants in here. They need to go. So we issued a 30-day notice right off the bat. But it had nothing to do with rent. We just wanted possession back. So we just said, we want our property back. We just want our apartment. You're allowed to give me a 30-day notice when you want to leave. I'm allowed to give you a 30-day notice as well when I want my property back. That's it. Nothing to do with rent. So if it would have went to court, we would have told them they were current on their rent anyway. So it shouldn't have been an issue. But we were just going to say it's nothing to do with rent. We don't care about rent. We just want the property. We want the apartment back. So that's how we did that during COVID.
Interesting. Okay. So that's when you issued the right of, what was it again? I'm sorry.
Release of rights to possession. We gave a 30-day notice, and the day she moved out, we had her sign that. And then that's stating she's done. She no longer occupies the unit. She will not come back. And that's a legal document. So.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Interesting. So
she left
you do that on all of your properties.
Yeah. All of our turnover, if our tenants are, done leasing with us, done staying with us, we have them sign that. at the end. So
Awesome.
for everyone, no matter what. That's the
Gotta
goal
keep-
anyway.
Well, again, have to have standards, rules of thumb to work by that, something slips every now and then, but if you get yourself covered, awesome. Well, listen, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and effort. I appreciate everybody else's time here. Thank you, Grant. You shared so many gold nuggets. My pad of paper is full here, and I appreciate that. And thank you very much. I'm very grateful for you coming on and sharing your knowledge. And again, in the chat window, you will be getting a chat log with a link to the recording of this video tomorrow. But if you want to download the chat log right now, open up the chat in those three little boxes or three little dots you see in that box. You can click on that, and then it says Save Chat up at the top, and you can download the chat, and it goes into a text file. I'll send that to you too, but if you can't wait for tomorrow, again, put your information in there so people can get a hold of you and contact you. And that's how this mastermind works. We're looking at partners and stuff like that. And thank you very much. The next mastermind we're going to have is June 2nd. It's 2 weeks from tonight, 7 o'clock. And thank you very much for your time and everybody, and have a great evening and a great weekend. Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate it.